Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I am gonna show you my top 7 utility plugins, special utility tools, and things that you wanna have if you're serious about mixing, whether you're mixing analog, hybrid, or whether you're mixing all in the box. Here are 7 plugins that you really wanna have in your toolbox. Some you'll use all the time, some you won't use all the time, you use occasionally, but if you're serious about mixing, here are 7 plugins. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. So make sure you like, share, subscribe. Also, make sure you go out to both homerecordingmadeeasy.com and mixingmusicanalog.com if you want to learn more about my mixing and mastering services or my training courses for both all-in-the-box mixing and or hybrid mixing with analog. Make sure you check those 2 websites. Link will be in the description box below. This video is going to go on both YouTube channels at one point or another. So let's talk about utility plugins. What do I mean by utility plugins? So these are plugins that are beyond EQs and compressors and saturators and tape machines. And we've talked about my favorite plugins that I use when I'm mixing, even when I'm mixing hybrid. You can check the archive for that. I gave you kind of those plugins, and some of the plugins in that video we're going to talk about here, only a couple of them, but this is more for these utility tools. When I talk to students about plugins, and plugins is a lot like gear, where it's like, what do you really need to have? And I tell students, especially ones that are just starting out learning the craft, that you really don't need any third-party plugins beyond the plugins that come with your DAW. Your stock plugins is where you should start. But if you really wanna get serious about mixing, these more utility plugins, these more special tool type plugins are something that you're gonna wanna have. Even if you just work with stock EQs and compressors, these are plugins that we're gonna talk about today that you want to have. So let's talk about that. So the first plugin I want to show you, or the first tool I want to show you, let me drag them on over here, is Steven Slate Trigger 2, or some equivalent drum replacement program. So if you work with acoustic drums, acoustic played live drums, you absolutely want to have some kind of a drum replacement where you can add samples to either replace the drum sounds or augment them, or just embellish what you already have. I use these all the time. Trigger 2 is kind of the industry standard, but there's Addictive Drums, there's Drumagog, and I'm sure there's a couple others out there, but Slate Trigger 2 seems to be the industry standard. It'll be interesting to see when they put out a Trigger 3. It's been several years since Trigger 2's been out, but this is a wonderful, wonderful plugin. And again, I'm not gonna demonstrate all the plugins in this video. If you wanna see some demos, leave comments below of which ones you want to see full demos of, and I will do that. But Trigger 2 is the absolute industry standard. Now, Trigger 2, you have a couple of different packages. Again, I'll leave the link in the description box so you can check all that stuff out. And again, none of these, I must say, this is not a sponsored video in any way. All these plugins, and I'm gonna show you, I paid for with my own money, okay? So they have 2 packages with Trigger. They have a basic package and I think a platinum package. The platinum package is gonna come with more samples. I used their basic entry-level package for a long, long time. It's only recently that I upgraded to the platinum, and I bought some of their expansion packs, which I really like. The 2 that I really like the most are the Blackbird samples, the expansion pack, and the CLA expansion pack I really like as well. Those are typically run around $100 to $150 on top of the Trigger 2 of itself. However, the stuff that comes with Trigger 2, regardless of which package you buy, is more than enough for 99% of the people out there that are watching this video. So absolutely want to have Trigger 2. You absolutely want some kind of a drum replacement program. I use this every single mix. I'm using samples. No matter how good the drums that were recorded in the original session, I'm always using samples to help embellish it. So you want to check out Trigger 2 or some of the equivalent. The next plugin I want to show you is a phase correction plugin. Again, not just for drums, for anything, but I use Auto Align 2 by Sound Radix. I used to use Auto Align 1 as well. Auto Align 2 is a huge upgrade, a lot more simplistic to use. Fantastic plugin. Again, if you're working with especially live recorded drums, you want to have some alignment tool. Again, there's other plugin companies out there that make something similar. I know Waves makes one, and there's a couple others you can check out. But again, the industry standard seems to be Auto Align, and it is simple to use, and it is somewhat affordable. Again, I use this all the time, and what's great about Auto Align 2, the second version, is you not only just use it on drums, you throw it on all of your tracks, and it will do all the alignment and all the phase correction automatically. So whether you have multiple guitar microphones on a guitar cabinet, or a bass amp and a bass DI, you want to make sure those things are in alignment and in phase. And this is a quick, easy way to do it and an accurate way to do it. So again, I would absolutely recommend this. Again, if you're serious about mixing, you want some kind of phase correction and auto align. To me, is the industry standard. The next thing you want to have, again, we're kind of sticking on with the drum theme here, is some kind of a gate. Now, there's a lot of gate plugins that are out there. If you have channel strips, a lot of times you'll have the gate right on the channel strip. Even your stock plugins, depending on the DAW you're using, you'll have some kind of a gate, and a lot of those will work well. But I've used lots of different gate plugins for kick and snare, mostly. And even for toms, for drums. And most of them are really fiddly and they're hard to dial in and get them completely accurate. There's only 2 on the market that I've ever used that I think is the best out there, simple, plug and play, works beautifully. And that is the Slate Digital Smart Gate they have, and Drum Gate, part of the All Access Pass or the Complete Pass, whatever they call it. I have that. And then the one I've been starting to use more recently that I like even more because it has more flexibility, more you can do with it, is the Oxford Drum Gate by Sonics. This is a wonderful, wonderful plugin. Now this is a little on the pricey side, but wait until this goes on sale. This normally runs around 200 and some odd US dollars. But you can pick this up a couple of times a year. I bought this for 59 bucks. This to me is the best drum gate plugin on the market. Again, the second being the Slate Digital. But you want to have some kind of a gate. You want to have some kind of a gate. When drums are not recorded all that well, and you have a lot of bleed from the snare into the kick mics or the kick into the snare mics or snares into the tom mics, this is really, really wonderful. And again, if you want to see a full demo of this, just leave comments below. I'll do a demo of this. But this is my favorite gate. So you want to have some kind of a drum gate, without a doubt. Again, if you're serious about mixing, you want to have that. Next plugin I want to show you is for vocals. And again, there's lots of different tuning programs on the market. The one that I like the most is Vocal Align Pro 6. This is a fantastic tool for not only aligning vocals for like gangs of background vocals or you know, lead vocal and unison vocals to line things up, but you can also do some tuning with it, and I'll talk about another plugin for tuning. But Vocal Align Pro 6 to me is, again, I use it on 80% of the mixes. You know, if I get a stack of background vocals or, you know, it's just fantastic for getting those things nice and tight. And there's some flexibility in how tight you can get them so they sound natural and they don't sound so robotic. But this is an essential thing so again, it can take a little bit to get used to learn how to use. It's not complicated. There's tons of YouTube videos on it. I'm going to do a YouTube series on this soon as well, as I've been working with it more and more. I like this a lot. This is a wonderful plugin. Again, there's some other companies that make something similar, but again, I believe this is probably the best one that's out there, and it seems to be the one that everybody likes to use, and I can see why. So again, if you're mixing and you have tracks where you have lots of background vocals or lots of stacks of vocals, this thing is awesome. Vocal Align Pro 6 is really, really cool. Check that out. And along with that is their RepPitch program, again, for tuning. So again, Melodyne I used for years. That's a great program as well. And again, there's other tuning programs on the market, but I like RepPitch Standard. That comes with a bundle with Vocal Align. Again, you can click the link in the description box and check that out. For tuning vocals, simple, easy, where it doesn't have to get too complicated, this is great. Again, not something I use on every single mix, but more times than not, there's always a note here or there, something in the vocal that needs to be tuned. And this is a great, great tool to have. So again, Vocal Align Pro along with RepPitch, killer combination. Again, if you already have Melodyne, that's an awesome program as well. Auto-Tune, I'm not too familiar with, but I know people that use that. They all kind of do the same thing. They all do the same thing, slightly different. But the bottom line is some kind of a vocal tuning plugin you absolutely want to have. Absolutely want to have if you're serious about mixing. Okay, the next tool, another utility tool that I use more often than I would like to be honest, and that is RX. This is RX11. This is the by Izotope. This is for fixing audio restoration or repair tool. This thing has saved my butt so many times, I can't even tell you how many times I'll get a track where there's there's noise, a bunch of amp noise or a bunch of clicks and digital clipping and things that happen when people record stuff because they don't use the best recording technique, or maybe they don't have the best equipment that they're using. This thing has bailed me out of more trouble. I can't even tell you, where we've had tracks that if I didn't have RX by Izotope to fix the audio, the track would be unusable. I mean, it really is super, super essential. The latest version, as I sit here and record this video, is Izotope or RX11. I have the RX11. I believe I have the standard version. They have standard and advanced. I have the standard version. Again, you can get different levels with different features, but this solves 99% of my problems. I love this thing, and I use this all the time. I even use this in the new 11 version. If you're someone who does content creation as well, like I do, and you're working with a microphone in a room like I am here, where there's a little bit of echo, a little bit of room or reflections off the console, they have a great plugin, a great module in RX11 called Dialogue Isolate, which allows me to remove the reverb in the room or any noise that's going on in the background, and it keeps you from having to have, you know, a microphone right up on me or a lav mic or something. I can just have a microphone on the console, and I can get rid of all that room sound and make it sound a lot cleaner. So that's a great thing too. But just for mixing, any audio tracks that have digital clipping, extra hiss or hum, or again, I just used it on my last client mix where he had a Marshall-y kind of a distorted guitar, and it was all kinds of amp hum. Amp had a wild hum in it, and when he was playing little delicate parts, the parts were beautiful, but you had all this amp hum in the background. This thing took it right out, and it sounded beautifully. Those tracks would have been completely unusable, and not always do you have the ability to go back and have your artist re-record tracks. So RX by Izotope, you absolutely want to have that in your toolbox. Yeah, it's not something I use all the time, but unfortunately I feel like I'm using it more and more these days because I have, you know, tracks that are sent to me that are not recorded in the most ideal situation. So RX by Izotope is something you definitely want to have. This is RX11, but RX10, I've had it since RX7. It's great. Last plugin I want to show you, again, if you're serious about mixing, I've talked about this before. This is a reference track tool. This is by Plugin Alliance. This is by this is Metric AB by Adapted Audio. Again, fantastic plugin. Again, I know there's other things on the market where you can load in reference tracks and you can compare your mix to reference tracks, which is absolutely essential if you're trying to learn this craft. And there's a bunch of other tools in here as well. Again, I've done a video on this in the past, but I can do another one if you'd like. This can get really deep if you wanted to, or it's super simplistic if you just want to quickly A/B your mix against a reference track, and you want to do that if you're trying to learn how to mix, or even if you're an advanced mixer, you want to have this. I use this on every single project. You absolutely want to have a reference track plugin of some kind. There's other ones on the market. I tend to like this one. Again, you can check that out in the description box below. So that's that. And another quick one by Izotope as well that you may want to check out. It's a standalone program, but it works with Izotope. It's standalone that you can use. Let me open it up here. This is called Audio Lens. This is a free plugin, by the way, where you can capture the EQ curve and the tonality, or the EQ curve of any reference track that you have, anything on Spotify, anything that you want to use, and then you can load that capture into Izotope Ozone. If you have Ozone, which is not on this list, you have Ozone, the mastering suite, you can use the capture in there in your DAW, and you can quickly A/B your mix against an EQ curve of a song that you're referencing. This is free. This is the standalone version where you can do this here, and then you can just take that mix and you can put it into your DAW. But if you want it to work inside of your session, inside of Ozone, you want to have, you can do that as well, which is really, really cool. So Audio Lens is another one that's great. Again, I use this, you know, maybe 50–60% of the time. Again, if a client says to me, I have this certain reference track, I like the tonality, I like the overall kind of sonic footprint of a certain reference, I'll capture an Audio Lens, and I'll use this at the very end of my mix to just see how I'm kind of faring up against the reference track from an EQ point of view. Again, not something I use all the time, but something that is very helpful, and the standalone version is absolutely free. So you should go download it anyway, just get it for free, and then if you feel like you want to use it inside of your DAW, you can couple this with Ozone as well. And again, that's their mastering suite. Again, another one I recommend, even though it's not essential for mixing, it's more for mastering, but it is great, another utility tool. But check out Audio Lens. And then another couple of things before we wrap up this video, that's not a plugin, but again, we're talking about mixing and what you absolutely should have if you are serious about the craft and you want to get good at this. Here's another thing you absolutely want to get involved in, and that is some sort of room correction. And here I am on Sweetwater's website. I'm going to show you two of them. Here is SonarWorks Sound ID. This you can use with your studio monitors, and also they have the plugin for your for headphones. It comes with a measurement microphone. It's $300 US. I can't tell you how many students that I have over the years that spend thousands and thousands of dollars on plugins, on great speakers. If they're in the analog world, have racks of gear sitting next to them, and they're working in a room that's not acoustically treated. Again, that's not a plugin, but acoustic treatment belongs on this list as well. And then they don't have any sort of room correction. No room, even with acoustic treatment, especially in a home studio environment, if it's not a purpose-built control room specific for mixing by a professional studio builder and designer. If you're not in that camp where you've tuned the room and built it from the ground up, you want to have some kind of room correction to help you accurately be able to hear what's coming out of your two speakers to make good mixing decisions. Here's one by SonarWorks. Again, $300. It is worth every single penny. And now also IK Multimedia has the new ARC, the ARC system, again, for $300. This is a hardware piece that sits on your desk along with a plugin inside of your DAW. Again, worth every single penny. If you're serious about the craft of mixing, you want some kind of room correction, these are the two industry standards, ARC and Reference ID. And if you really want to step up to something that is, that goes even way further than this, if you're really got a top-end studio and you have the budget, you may want to consider the Trinoff room correction system, the Nova, which is a hardware unit along with a plugin that sits on your computer. Again, I have a video on that. You can check the archive below. So those are my top 7 plugins, and then a couple of bonuses there with some room correction. Those are the things, those are the tools, utilities tools that I think every single mixer should have. Whether you're an absolute beginner or whether you're someone intermediate and advanced, you should have it. So if you're starting to learn how to mix music and you want to learn how to get better at mixing music, whether it's just for your own music or for one day you want to work with clients, every plugin that I mentioned in this video, you should have before you go out and buy a bunch of tape machines and channel strips and all those other fancy cool plugins that we all know and love. You want to have these utility plugins because they're essential and you're going to use them in every single mix, and it's going to help you level up your mixes and bring them to the next level. So let me know in the comments below, what utility plugins do you use? Did I miss any? Or do you have something that I'm not aware of that you use? Again, not an EQ, a compressor, a channel strip. I mean, these more utilitarian things that help you with fixing audio, stuff like that. Anything in this category that I categorize as a utility style plugin or utility tool, what are yours? Leave them in the comments below, and also leave in the comments below if you want to see full demos on anything that I showed you today in the future video. Make sure you click all the links in the description box below. Make sure you go to both homerecordingmadeeasy.com and mixingmusicanalog.com so you know what I got going on both those websites. And until the next video, we talk about mixing and some more cool tools that you can use to help level up your mixing. I've been Dave with both Mixing Music Analog and homerecordingmadeeasy.com. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you guys in the next video.